Now, Iran's foreign minister has accused the US of leading a military buildup in the Gulf that could threaten the whole region. In an exclusive interview with Al Jazeera, Javad Zarif said more warships in the Gulf would only lead to more insecurity. His comments come after the US announced that it's working to form a military coalition to protect commercial shipping in the Gulf following attacks on oil tankers. Well, here with me is Hashem Ahelbarra, our correspondent, who actually did the interview with the Iranian foreign minister. And so Javad Zarif then making a clear point that the number of military powers assembling in the Gulf region is not going to lead to greater security.
He is definitely of the view that this is something that would further destabilise the region, and he joins the statements made by President Rouhani and Supreme Leader before them, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, that the presence of the naval buildup is something that could destabilise the region. The Iranian defense minister, when he was asked about Israel, saying that it would step in and join that coalition, saying that this could have disastrous consequences on the region. These were the words of the Iranian interior minister. So from an Iranian perspective, this is not something that would bring about security in the region.
This is a tiny body of water, and the more foreign naval vessels you have in this body of water, the less secure it is for everybody. Based on experience, presence of the United States and foreign naval fleets in the Persian Gulf has never produced security. We have all very sad memories of US ships downing an Iranian airliner in 1988, killing 290 passengers. So we believe that the best US can do for protection of maritime navigation is to just leave people alone, don't interfere. This is basically a hostile act against Iran, and I do not believe it will have any impact other than insecurity.
And Hashem, you were telling me earlier that with that new axis of conflict emerging in the war in Yemen, the foreign minister was again at pains to point out about the increasing militarization of the region.
Indeed, and he lashed out at the same time at two key US allies in the region, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, saying that they should not buy security. This was his words from outside. They should come talk and engage with Iran for the sake of regional security. And this highlights, I think, some of the biggest issues that we have in the region. Saudi Arabia considers itself to be the protector of Sunni Islam. Iran considers itself to be the protector of Shia Islam. And both are vying for a bigger say in the region. And as long as that that ambition continues, it is most likely to create further instability. And this explains when I asked him about reaching out to the Saudis and to the Emiratis about a permanent peace in the region. What he said was really interesting. Let's listen to what he had to say.
The United States is selling billions, 50 billion last year, sold $50 billion of weapons to this region. Some of the countries in this region, with less than a third of our population, spend $87 billion on just military procurement. Let's just compare. Iran spent last year $16 billion on all of its military, with almost 1 million people under arms. We paid $16 billion. The United Arab Emirates, with a total 1 million population, indigenous population, spent $22 billion. Saudi Arabia spent $87 billion. Now, if we're talking about threats coming from countries in the region, the threat is coming from the United States and its Western allies, who are pouring weapons into this region, making it a tinderbox, ready to blow up.
So quite alarming words then coming from the Iranian foreign minister. And a reminder, Hashem, that this current crisis really started, didn't it, when the United States decided to pull out of that nuclear deal. That's over a year ago. And ever since then, it seems as though tensions have just been rising. And
ever since, exactly, the situation continues to further deteriorate. I asked him about whether Iran would one day consider pulling out from the deal if nothing happens and if President Trump decides on maintaining the sanctions. He said that he is very concerned about the potential for any blown-out military confrontation, but for the time being, Iran will definitely stick to the deal because they consider it to be the best option available on the table.
All right, thank you for that. Hashem Ahelbarra, who has interviewed Javad Zarif, the Iranian foreign minister. You can see the full interview on Al Jazeera on Tuesday at 00:30 Greenwich Mean Time. So that's the full interview with Javad Zarif, the Iranian foreign minister, talking to Hashem Ahelbarra on Tuesday at 00:30.